What does it take to build a creative tech company in one of the world's fastest growing cities? Hi, and welcome to the Founders Atlas, a podcast exploring entrepreneurship around the world through the eyes of visionary founders. I'm your host, Mayuri Reddy. Today, we're traveling to Bangalore, India, a city that holds a very special place in my heart as one of the places I consider home. Over the last 2 decades, it has built a reputation as the Silicon Valley of India, with IT companies from around the world building huge offices in an effort to tap into the incredible engineering talent that is based there. This has led to a massive growth in the city, both in size and population, with estimates as high as 14 million people calling the city home. Over the years, it has been astounding to see this change in wealth and the increase in access to more Western comforts that has been a result of this growing change. It is a truly cosmopolitan city, not only attracting Indians from across the country, but also a growing expat community that continues to flock there because of its immense promise and rapid growth. But for me, I remember the Bangalore of when I was a kid. Bangalore sits at a higher elevation than many other Indian cities, which gives it a much more temperate climate. And it used to actually be known as the Garden City due to its lush trees and greenery. My grandparents' house was about 3 hours outside of the city, not because of the distance, but because the roads were so poorly made, you'd be driving about 5 kilometers an hour. The city keeps growing, and as it does, our village isn't so far from the city anymore. And the city, it isn't so green. Over the years, I've watched as the farming villages we used to drive through are now becoming home to high rise apartment complexes and IT offices. In this episode, I chose to speak to the person I normally spend most of my long philosophical talks with, my cousin Vivek. Vivek is the founder of VIGA Entertainment Technology, which specializes in a full suite of products and services around digital effects. After getting a master's degree at UPenn, Vivek went on to work in Los Angeles and was in fact part of the small team that developed the digital technology used for the live action Lion King, which means that he has met Beyonce, and which means I will always be jealous of him. He also works with one of the most famous producers to ever come out of India, A.R. Rahman. But beyond all of that, Vivek has always been known as someone who builds and creates out of a deeper fascination with life itself. I've always known him to be someone that loves to learn, but on his own terms. And I think this conversation is a reflection of that. We talk about everything from AI to spirituality. And if you're curious about what it takes to really work and build in a city like Bangalore and in a country like India, you're going to want to listen. I'm so excited to share this episode with you. Welcome. This is the Founders Atlas. Hi, welcome everybody to the Founders Atlas. Today, I'm so excited to have Vivek Reddy on the podcast. As you can probably tell from our same last names, we are related. Vivek's mom is my dad's sister, and we actually have grown up together quite close, even though he lives in India and I was raised in the US. And today's episode's probably going to be pretty similar to our life conversations that we normally have in his kitchen when his mom is overfeeding us, or in my parents' house in Seattle when my mom is overfeeding us. And definitely going to try and explore a lot of the things that make Bangalore an interesting place to work, but also you're going to get probably a funny take of what it's like to be in our presence as cousins. So Vivek, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. A lot of things are happening. I'm happy to be here and give you all the updates from the ground.
Maybe you can tell folks what is the business that you have in Bangalore?
Sure. So I started a company called VIGA Entertainment Technology. It focuses on building entertainment related solutions, software and hardware. And yeah, it started actually 6 years ago. And we are primarily trying to serve any movies or interactive media entertainment with or whatever the software they need or whatever the hardware they need. That's what we do.
What got you interested in this field?
So I was always interested in movie making and movies in general. And I went on to do a master's degree. I was actually doing a lot of short films during my engineering. I was winning a lot of awards for my short films. Even though I was like studying electronics and communication engineering during my undergrad, movie making was somehow I was like tuned to editing videos very fast, and I was like self-learning very fast. But at the end of my engineering, I was like not sure, hey, should I be doing my engineering as my work, or like should I be hitting filmmaking? But at that point, filmmaking was sounding very not such an attractive career to have. It was not like a safeguarded career or anything. So I was like researching on like, hey, what is it that I can use my knowledge from both the industries, and where can I end up going with all of this knowledge? So that's when, there was a channel called Discovery Science back then, where they were showing something called Science of the Movies. And with Science of the Movies, I was able to understand, okay, there's a thing called technical director who are required in movies. And that's when I applied for my master's in University of Pennsylvania. I got in, and I did my master's in computer science, and there's a specialization in computer graphics within computer science. That's what I did. And usually we learn all about the deep tech of whatever happens in making movies. That's what we do. And then yeah, from then on, for about 9 years I was working in Los Angeles. That's how my journey had started. And in that whole process, learned a lot of things about the actual in-depth technologies that go into making movies.
Now that you're back in India, what has been the biggest, I guess, shift in your perspectives?
The perspective feels different in three different areas. Like there is a creative perspective, there's a technical perspective, and then there's a business perspective. Those are the three things which need to be balanced to run a business efficiently, right? Now, sitting in US, sitting in Los Angeles, and working on the movies, there was an interesting perspective I saw from a bird's eye view about how India functions from over there, which is like, okay, what is a problem statement that is there? What is a problem statement that I need to focus on if at all I go back to India, kind of a thing. So once I came here, the problem statement remains same. So from a business perspective, the business perspective still remains the same. But over here, I felt from a business perspective, a lot of R&D capital is not spent over here in countries like India. It's usually an actor-driven economy, is what I realized. It's not. I mean, there are films which are story-driven, but it is predominantly an actor-driven economy where all of the capital and money flows only if you have A-listed actors over here. But yeah, there are different perspectives from all these areas.
Okay, so a little bit of context as well. So Vivek has worked on building this company for what you said, 6 years, right? Okay.
6 years now. Yeah. Yes.
How many employees?
We are 25 right now.
I mean, I think when you first started out a few years ago, I
Mm.
think you had like 15 people. So you're also growing. So obviously, when people think about what's happening in India from an outsider's perspective, I think a lot of people just don't understand just how much. I mean, there's a lot of talent there, but just how much growth is happening in India at at a pace that like people can't
Mhm.
comprehend elsewhere, right? Like even when I go to India and it's been a 1 year between, you see this insane growth in the city, in wealth. So, what are some things that people might have as misconceptions about India that maybe you would want to challenge or debunk?
Uh, I mean, misconceptions might exist in a certain segment of population, but if you see S&P 500 companies, all the top S&P 500 companies, 400 of them exist in Bangalore. So that tells you the story that all the top executives and CEOs across the world in the S&P 500 index understand why Bangalore is important, and they're all there. Every top company has an office here in Bangalore, especially in Bangalore. Considering all of India, I cannot speak for all of India, but my experience, I saw almost everything being done in India. In fact, you can see that reverberate in the way flight logistics are working. There are direct flights between San Francisco and
Oh,
Bangalore
wow.
also right now, and Seattle and Bangalore, which is reflecting the fact that that's how much business is happening
Yeah.
between the two cities. So, but the other perception is usually India is also seen as like, okay, not much innovation comes out of here, and not much. We're not obviously competing on par with China, but that is in the hardware segment. But in the software segment, has been pretty amazing. In app stores, India is actually doing well. A lot of the softwares from India are going to the top. India has made Zoho Suite, which is one of the primary examples of how a SaaS product has occupied almost every business across the US and Europe and everything. So there are good examples. There are good stories. Not much visibility because we haven't made a lot of inroads in hardware, unlike China has made.
And if you look at the way that India is progressing, where do you see VIGA sort of fitting into this?
Sure. That's a good and important question because I always define the purpose of this company or existence of this company almost every day. Like, why do we exist and why do we exist in India? Because many of my fellow colleagues or friends or mentors usually suggest these kind of companies should be in the West or set up in something like a US, not in India. And I have a huge philosophical debate for that, and I can just share
Please.
that with you right now. Because one of the thing, like how do I fit in a country like India is it's a country with 1.4 billion people to start with, and there hasn't been a single product in the world of entertainment that has grossed to a point where, according to me, it is not even on par with the Jurassic Park that was released in 1993. Okay, so why am I so harsh on that whole thing? Is movies can shape society, movies can shape consciousness at a very large scale, and movies have shaped people. Science fiction has inspired people. In fact, science fiction has inspired the AI wave that we are seeing right now. Good writers, good storytellers, and good philosophers are what create and grow society for uh, for a bigger civilization or for a more healthy civilization. So so what happens is stories are what reflect people's mindset in a given society. Now, for me, when I'm seeing a country like India from a different perspective, I usually count it from not from a GDP perspective, from a misery perspective. Why is it that certain viewpoint you're going to see that the legal, you can usually see a country's happiness based upon how much of legal issues are happening in a given country or a given place. The more number of cases are being filed is a direct reciprocation of what is the state of mind of a given society. Now, I'm telling all of this. Yeah, I'm telling all of this because stories are important. At the end of the day, a story is the king. Now, in a given society like India, there are so many cultures. It's unique for a country to have so many cultures and still coexist in a single country. So that's fascinating, actually, if you think about it. So many kingdoms were there, so many religions were there, so many castes are there, so many languages are there, and yet it is living in harmony. It is trying to live in harmony. So culture forms the core roots or core values for any given society to live in harmony, and hence culture is preserved with stories, because stories are like a compressed form of a culture going back to 5,000 years, but it compresses the right amount of information into a given storytelling pathway. And when cultures are shared, the world is going to be more harmonious, is my belief, is my personal belief also from a philosophical standpoint. So story forms such an important aspect of a society. But a country like India usually struggles to execute such stories even till date, because unlike West, which started like a semiconductor layer, which in 1970s, and then they created a graphics layer technology of software, and then companies like Autodesk, Adobe, SolidWorks, they all created application layer, and then the content layer came up on top of it. There were four layers of evolution that the West followed before they started getting amazing products like Toy Story or anything. Everyone knows Toy Story was backed by Apple, and Steve Jobs was very influential in the world of building Toy Story, all the way from the software RenderMan that was coming out back then and everything. So that journey had a hardware, software, and then application layer that came up as an evolution. That's something that's been our goal as well. Like, build software to the point where it can solve the ecosystem problem. This country has so many people, obviously, right? 1.4 billion people, but there are many graduating year on year in the world of visual effects, animation, and technology for animation and visual effects, right? But there are not enough jobs. Usually, the whole country is dependent upon service sector. So majority of the people want to work on the Western content, but there's not much content that is coming out which is exportable or in high quality. For example, a good example is China released a movie like 2 weeks ago where the investment was about $80 million and they made $1.7 billion. That's the budget of running a city like Bangalore in a given year that usually gets allocated, or close to. But what I'm trying to say here is when you are focused on trying to tell your story, your culture, and if you can make it an exportable content, you can thrive in the
Yeah.
world of art. And the culture of India right now in the world of art is it is usually for failures. If you're a failure in life, if you're not past your 10th grade or 12th grade, that's when you enter the world
Interesting.
of
Okay.
art. But that was not how it used to be, is what I want to tell myself. But the thing is, it has to be respected, is what I say from a philosophical point of view.
Do you now, as you're building a, obviously with VIGA, what you're doing is expanding the accessibility for people to create art, right? You're making that easier. And most of
Mhm.
your clients, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't actually have, as you have a lot of clients that are also in the West as well. Have you ever
Yes.
have you had instances with your clients where they have maybe had different perspectives of how their work needed to be done? Or is there a very different expectation level of the work that should be produced by clients you have that are in India versus clients that are elsewhere? Or is there a similar belief system about the kind of output they want to have and the quality?
Mhm. That's definitely there. I felt the West was going for more of perfection, and they were okay with going on a process driven methodology. Versus India, I saw more chaotic methodology. With West, I felt it was more comfortable in terms of working with clients versus India. Even though I'm telling so much India versus West, but the thing is, the economics has been designed like that. Like whatever the product West does has an international distribution, so they have a better viewpoint on how the product should function from a world perspective. Versus an Indian product so far, if you are talking from service point of view, because there are two things that we are also doing. One is a product, and we are doing services also. So because we are a bootstrapped company, so we feed our products
Mm.
with our services, trying to feed at least, because it's hard, and venture capital does not like usually does not like these kind of slow models. They want like quarterly results, quick goals, like with quick turnover and everything. But when we are doing services, we have to be trying to do it with clients, whoever can see value
Yeah.
in what we offer. So with West, we felt we could easily sell ourselves as value
Mhm.
proposition. Versus versus in India, it was more of a struggle for us to sell as value proposition. That's been the experience.
Now you talking about sales. What is your sales process when you're selling to a client in the West versus potentially a client in India?
Hmm.
If there is any difference, I'd actually be curious. But also, if there isn't, I would just love to know your normal sales process, because I can't imagine it being something where you just send a cold LinkedIn message. It must be something that's a lot more personal to be doing some things like this.
Yeah. So I mean, so far for me, my sales has been pretty much with my network, within the network that I was able to build when I was in US. And from there will be introductions that will be coming my way. And it's within the circle of people which I was able to build as a network during my career. And expanding beyond it has been hard, because the market functions like that, right? There are so many vendors. What we are doing is we have a portfolio these days. We have built a portfolio over the last 6 years, right? So it helps us a lot to get a leg into the discussions. Rather than just coming up with an email, we can show that, okay, this is the project we have done, this is the similarity between the project we have done before and now, and we had executed this at so and so budget, and hence we can execute now with these automations at this thing. There's only so much you can do in this world, right? In spite of what project it is, there's only so many types of tunnels you can build. There's only so many types of flyovers you can build. And similarly, even in the world of interactive experiences and AR, VR, and film making, there's only so many methodologies. At the end of the day, every time we go do a sales process, it's about cost optimization. The world is trying to reduce costs everywhere, cut costs at every corner. Every time a discussion happens, it's usually about what optimization are we bringing into the table this time.
Speaking of optimizations, how has the rapid and recent and rapid developments in AI, affected or created some pivots in the way that you approach your business. So I know that there have been so many changes in the last few months that I think surprised even the biggest advocates for AI in terms of how quickly things are changing and how quickly these developments are happening. And I'm curious how you then respond to those changes to ensure that your business is staying on track.
Sure. So when it started, when the moment where we started realizing that the industry is changing, all that we could do was adapt very fast. And what do I mean by adaptation is process. So it's like, imagine you're manufacturing a car and you have a supply chain where you have to do one step after the another. There are 50 steps. Imagine there are 50 steps when you're manufacturing a Toyota car or something, and all the steps are changing and evolving. That's what is happening right now for us, because the way you put the door is changing, the way you put the tire is changing, the way you insert the steering wheel is changing, because AI is hitting right in the media industry right now. For example, text to audio, text to image, text to video, these are all media components in the output. They're hitting right in the bullseye because text to music is happening, text to 3D models is happening. All of these are related directly into the media industry. In fact, the repercussions are already being seen. Like just today, there was a 2,000 people job loss that happened all across India in
Wow.
a big company. But how are we reacting is process. So the philosophy is process. We are always having a process from the last 6 years. We have been building a process. In fact, we have been making 5 softwares
Okay.
so far. Five softwares that are interconnected with each other. To start with, one is ScriptWrite. It'll allow you to write stories. Then there's something called ScriptViz. It'll allow you to visualize your stories. Then there will be Movie Collab, which is a production management software. It'll manage all of your users, tasks, and everything. And then there's something called SyncSpace, which manages the files everywhere across people. And then fifth one is called Artist Hub, where it's just like a freelancer marketplace where you can go find your team and you can build your team and start making content. So all these are interconnected softwares, and each one has maximum AI infusion from our side. So we are focusing on building value. That's it. Process is there, and in the process, which component of the process can be automated is what we are always observing. So if there is an open source GitHub repository that comes up with automation in it, we are going to be a team of programmers who are going to go and implement it and solve it
I
for
see.
us. So the best part is the company also has a service team, right? So like I said, I have a product team and I have a service team. We are using our own optimizations within our projects also. We have our own artists using our product and coming up with feedback on our daily basis. So our system is like rotating like a wheel right now. It is challenging, like AI is capital intensive, very capital intensive if you have to
Yeah.
train your own models. But we're trying to just be the people who can connect the dots rather than invent the dot at this point.
Wow, it's interesting how quickly you've been able to adapt. So you have a team of 25 and you're able to actually be, nimble enough to
Hmm.
be able to do this. How
Hmm.
do you ensure that you also have the right team on board with you, right? So this is also, again, a rapidly changing industry. As you mentioned before, there are a lot of people who are getting trained in these fields. But India doesn't have necessarily the same sort of labor laws as a lot of other places. So as an example, here in Berlin, when you hire somebody, they have like a notice period of, up to maybe 3 months. And there's a different rapport
Hmm.
about how that happens. And the hiring process can take longer as well. What do you do to ensure that you have the people on board that can handle the amount of kind of rapid innovation that needs to happen within your own products and services, and that you also know that they are ready to be on board for a long time?
Hmm. So when it comes to hiring, you're right. The laws are different in each countries, but there are strict laws here in terms of labor laws. Maybe other companies have deviated. I don't know about it, but there are laws which we follow strictly. The other interesting thing that I observed in India over the 6 years was attrition was very high here. Attrition rates in almost every company is high. When it came to different Western countries, I felt immigrants were not showcasing a lot of attrition in the companies that they used to work at. I think the visas were holding them back within those companies in a much more stricter, regulated way. And I feel the other companies in the West also preferred foreign workers because of that consistency. And I felt in a country like India, which is free, right? Everybody is free to do whatever they want, and there's so much of work for so many other jobs also available. So I felt the attrition was moving very fast, and it affects the job quality. It affects the product creation process because you have onboarded somebody with a lot of time and effort, and then they quit in the middle. It affects the product itself. So those problems are what is hindering. I feel product creation many times. Many of the why is there are a lot of questions that go on, right? Why is India not able to create a chat GPT? Why is there no Anthropic in India? Why is there no Meta kind of a company? There are a lot of issues on all those areas which are being solved. But in the era of AI, there is a different game coming into it, which is what is skill right now. Is a junior programmer better than an AI? Maybe not. Like today morning there was Claude 3.7 that launched a new AI model from Anthropic, which is excellent in coding skills. Maybe it is at a mid-level programmer, maybe it is like a 5-year experience or a 10-year experience programmer. It's amazing at the speed at which programming is also getting automated. So it's not just art. Programming is completely getting automated to the level where when I am using it, I am like shocked. Okay, this is what the future we are going to live in. But but how do you hire right now? Is I felt architecture is the core understanding of human beings. The interesting thing about human beings is we can connect the dots in totally unrelated spaces, which an AI model might not. AI models are trained on top of previously existing data, which is what the human conditioning has given to a certain amount of information. In the modern era of programming, I feel people who have architecture understanding of how things are connected to each other are the ones who do great. So from our team perspective, we usually look for architects rather than somebody who's a specialist programmer in one thing. A generalist is what I would say. When I say an architect, they have an understanding of how is the backend functioning with front end engineering, which model are we going to be using with which database, and how is authentication going to be happening. So usually before you start a software or any project, you will draw a flow chart on how things are connected with each other, and that it's like a dance of all the code. How is the code going to flow through that whole pipeline?
Interesting. Okay. So if someone were looking to gain a better understanding of how to, I guess, exercise that skill, and they're not an architect, what are some other skills that you maybe look for? What are some core competencies of an architect that you find to be so valuable?
Well, it's just problem solving at the end of the day. Like usually you are making something and you have a list of tasks that you have to accomplish. How soon and how fast you can go about doing it, right? And usually when you're not an architect or when you do not have a generalist knowledge of how things work, you're not a problem solver. You're just getting stuck in that whole small problem statement, and you're unable to connect the dots between one point to another point, and that is inefficiency in the current capitalistic market, because capitalism favors speed and output
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to be a capitalist person here trying to say the others will be not useful or anything. I think what's going to happen is many people are going to have knowledge. See, current economy is knowledge economy where knowledge is free for everyone. At least in the earlier era, people had to pay a lot of money to get a little bit of knowledge in one sector. But right now, all of YouTube, all of podcasts, everywhere knowledge is available for everyone to grasp. So a lot more humans are going to become architects, is what I see. And many are going to also start their own companies at this point.
It's now looking at the way that AI is progressing as well. I think a lot of people have just in general been like really scared for their careers, right? There's been this whole thing of every career being like, well, for example, I'm a marketer, right? Like, what is AI going to do to marketing? Okay, And for me, that's actually just changed my perspective of, all right, well, now brand is going to be so much more important, right? Because any company can now build a website that looks pretty and has good stock imagery and
Mm.
sells a product that's interesting. But only the companies that have developed a brand or developed some sort of loyalty amongst their customers are really going to be successful. So brand is just now going to be a much more important thing. And as society has progressed, we've always had new tools, right? New tools have always threatened careers that existed before and has made things more obsolete. So I think that that perspective of, if you can solve problems makes a lot of sense, right? Because there's always going to be problems. And if you have the ability to see what's going on and find a solution, you'll be able to find some pathway to use those skills in a new capacity,
Yes,
whatever the world looks like.
yes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, every skill is going to be changing going further. What is skill is also being questioned at this point. What is even as much as what is a human supposed to be doing is also being questioned. We are not at entered the era of humanoid robots. We are only talking AI automation in the field of software and art and everything. Once humanoid robots come into the picture, I think the conversation is going to be much more diverse. But I think it's for the good of human beings. Whatever is happening, we if you take it positively, and if capitalism can balance and make it even playing field for everyone, because not everyone is going to have a job, not everyone is going to earn money, and once universal basic income becomes a part of every government infrastructure and things settle in from universal basic income point of view, I think maybe we are going to see the age of abundance and life
That
is
would
going
be
to be
nice.
happy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if so, we've had many of these philosophical conversations before about what it means to be, I don't know, a human being. But we've also talked about Vivek and I have spoken about this many times over our life about how fascinating it is to be from a country like India that is known for spirituality and meditation, yoga, mindfulness. Like that is what is now becoming something that is adopted in the West, which is not a bad thing. It's great. But it's also something that's a little bit interesting to see when you go to Bangalore, because then you sort of see the opposite of that of it seems like Bangalore is now trying to adopt a lot of these Western ways of living. And it can be quite fascinating to see the shift in that. And I'm curious for you, as someone who, grew up in Bangalore and has seen the city change so much, what is it like for you to go to the US, live in somewhere like LA where probably everyone's talking about yoga and going to yoga retreats? Again, nothing wrong with yoga or yoga retreats, but it's just a very different world. And then coming back to Bangalore and then feeling like the world where mindfulness was actually part of our way of living is not necessarily being prioritized anymore. And then the second question would be then, how do you find grounding in a world where you're also working in this field of AI and deep tech? How do you make sure that you're also staying in the world that we currently live in or the reality we're living in now?
Got it. Yeah, both are great questions, but I will tell you how I observed it from my perspective. So when I was living in LA, I used to go to a place called Self Realization Fellowship. It is in Pacific Palisades where the fire recently broke out, and there was an ashram from the philosopher Paramahamsa Yogananda, who has written the book Autobiography of a Yogi. And over there, I kind of saw like how much America was following the idea of spirituality or meditation, and I met a lot of friends who had a calling for all of this. And with my discussions with many of them, what I realized was the mind. The mind is like interesting. The mind is influenced a lot by the environment which it surrounds with. My usual observation was the life in US was more lonely and isolated for many of the people. We are such a vast country, less population, not much socialization happening in the age of 2020. families are usually far away, children are far away, and a lot of that loneliness I felt was giving them time to contemplate in the search of truth, of existence, and meaning of life. I felt that was driving many of the curious minds to come out in search of answers. And I felt spirituality gave them peace in the pursuit of those answers. Now, coming back to India, I was also pondering like how can India produce such amazing spiritual leaders? Because um, India feels chaotic in many places, very chaotic. Not in a bad sense. It's probably because of infrastructure and crowd and people and infrastructure is usually like not. It's still getting better, right? So how did chaos create such amazing leaders? Is what I was always pondering also. So on one hand, like somebody like a J. Krishnamurti, if you know about that philosopher, he's very popular in California, but also like he's from Andhra Pradesh, very close by to here. So how did India produce all such leaders, and they all had such huge fan following in US in West? And I think it was curiosity. It was all about the curious mind. Where is the mind getting curious, and the where is the mind getting lost in noise? I just feel there is a lot of noise happening over here right now. There's too much noise in the name of religion and politics and caste and all those things are still getting a lot of the attention in the mind, and hence the mind is not yet probably drawn towards the idea of truth and curiosity towards what is existence and everything. And a lot of the answers are existing, and there is a lot of religious following in India also, which is good. I feel in the last 5 years, I have met a lot of people who have that curious mind, because a lot of the families are settled. When I say settled, it's like you're not anxious about food and shelter. Usually, what is happening is that is another big thing that I observed, which is you're very anxious about how are you going to pay for your food next month. You won't think about what is mind and what is consciousness. But I think the country is growing right now. It's in a growth phase. Life is good for many people. People are getting settling in. People are happy, and I think a lot of nice questions are being asked. Nice questions are being pondered about. Many more meditation centers are also opening across. There's a nice mix of everything, like Western plus Indian and everything. So maybe it's evolving towards the right place. I think it's a balance that the society is
Yeah.
going to find for itself. And coming to the second question, which is how am I staying grounded? For me, I tried Vipassana meditation about a year ago.
I think I've met like
Yeah,
6 people in the last like 3 weeks that are like, oh yeah, I did Vipassana. It's great. I do it now all the time. And I think I need to do it too. So you did
yeah.
Vipassana.
So
Okay.
couple of years ago when I did it, yeah. So that was Buddha's teachings, right? Buddha was also like thinking why so much misery in human life, and what do we do about all of this? And so whatever the technique that he followed is what SN Goenka is teaching. That he SN Goenka has passed away, but he has recorded teachings where for a 10-day period you're going to be silent and not talk to anybody, and we're just going to focus on your own inner self, on your own body, and understand how everything is changing. You cannot control anything around you, and once you accept the truth that you cannot control anything around you, and once you let go of it, misery reduces because you're not clinging onto something, because everything is changing anyways. So I think once you practice it, your neuroplasticity is going to change in the brain, and because we are conditioned humans while living in the society, and once the conditioning changes, because it doesn't change overnight, maybe the 10-day period will give you a momentum to change, but once you start practicing it every day, there is a continuous change in your neuroplasticity. It's like a river that has sculpted the stone when
Yeah.
it was flowing. So we need to resculpt it to go away from misery, because misery is only self created. It's not coming from the outside.
The Vipassana retreat. So it's usually 10 days, but then afterwards, you then have a Vipassana practice, right? So do you then meditate every day?
Yes.
Is this part of your daily routine?
Yes, I try to meditate. I
Okay.
do skip it some days when I'm too busy, but I do meditate
Do you
as much
notice a
as
difference when
possible.
you don't meditate?
Yes, yes, you can get very anxious, and you can the pretty much ideology is don't react to situations, act on it. Reaction is where you don't actually do the right thing. Reacting to situations is where you go chaotic. Your mind is going chaotic, and it's not in order. But when you act on it, you're literally focusing on the solution rather than
Yeah.
like just reacting to it. So it does happen, and we can see it while running companies also. Running a company is a tough job. It takes a lot of pressure when you're trying to be a leader, and when you're trying to be the guiding light for so many people in your company, and you're trying to take the ship in rough waters. So you have to be focused on where is your destination in the ship, and where are the other ships around you.
Makes sense.
So
How, now that you've actually now experienced working in the US, you have a lot of clients that are also, I don't know if you mentioned this already, but I'm just going to mention it because I know you have clients that are also in Dubai, as well as folks that you're working with in India. Very notable people. I mean, one of your clients is Rahman, who is quite literally one of the biggest producers to ever come out of India ever. So you're doing really great work. But what would be some advice you would give to maybe a entrepreneur that's looking to expand into India about how to enter the market? Or maybe if you want to be more specific of how to get into Bangalore, because of course, if a company is working in tech or in many other different fields, to be honest, just because there's an abundance of wealth and a very diverse population in Bangalore due to the job opportunities there, what would be your advice for somebody who's looking to expand their business there or is just looking to explore if they can expand their business there?
mhm. So I feel if it's a software company that wants to expand into India, it's a right time. It's a very good time. India is at I think 600 million smartphones right now. So if it's an app or a web app, it's such a right time if you have the right solution for the problem. So if you are solving for a problem statement, India is ripe for disruption. So much activity is going on in digital economy of India. India has built an amazing financial infrastructure with UPI and an amazing identity infrastructure with Aadhaar. We have a great digital public infrastructure. It's called DPI. So from a software point of view, uh, India is
Actually, before you go any further,
yeah,
can
sure.
you maybe explain what what an Aadhaar is? Because I think a lot of people have no idea, and it's actually quite an interesting thing.
So Aadhaar is like national identity card for everybody. Just like US has social security, India wanted to create a single identity card for every human in the country so that they can avail social services or they can avail any health services or vaccination services. It's like a unique identity for every individual, which will unlock a lot of other economic benefits in the society. So creating that at scale is a very hard problem statement, and creating it for 1.4 billion people and actively having it running is an even harder problem statement. So India has successfully done it.
And what
That's
was
the
the
best
time
part.
period in which they were able to roll this out?
They took about 4 years, I think, to roll it out completely. They started in 2013 to enroll, and then it took about
Yeah.
4 years to enroll. But then once they enrolled it everywhere, the added advantages are many. That after that, India created a payment system called UPI. I think Universal Payment Interface is what it's called. With that, it's you see the economic benefits. Like all of India uses QR code right now. We can
Yeah.
pay anybody to anybody at like using QR code. We don't use Visa and Mastercard as a interface exchange for anything. I mean, people still do use credit cards, but what I'm saying is people are able to sell vegetables on the street and they're able to
Yep.
get payments from these mobile phone QR codes, and it unlocks economic value. That's the most important thing. How do you unlock economic value for everybody's happiness at the end of the day? So that's something India can unlock. So from a software economy, what I'm saying is, if you look into digital public infrastructure, you're going to see how India is positioned right now, and there is a lot of things that you can do in fintech and delivery apps and drone-based delivery, or so many things are happening. In fact, I can order whatever I want, and I'll have it delivered in 5 minutes
Yeah.
in
Wow.
Bangalore right now using Swiggy's, Blinkit, and all those apps. So, uh, so that is the software part. On the hardware side, Indian government is getting very active for Make in India campaign. They want people to do business in India. They want manufacturing to happen in India. So there are a lot of incentives that the government gives for somebody to come and establish business. And a city like Bangalore is cosmopolitan. It has everything. You will have everything here, pretty much everything. the
It really is a crazy city now too. It changes. So I mean, like there are
yeah,
things that are in Bangalore
yeah.
that I
So
would
the
never see in Europe, like, and it is really growing at a rate to match the expectations for, yeah, for
yeah,
anyone.
yeah. See, the infra is a problem. The infrastructure is a problem. Public transportation is a problem. But I think those are problems where great companies are going to be born. Only when you have a problem is when great companies can
True.
also come up in those areas, right? So you are going to see amazing companies which are going to solve those problems. We are going to have better air taxis. We are going to have better public transport. We're going to have self-driving metro drop on drop off things happening. All those things are going to come up in something like this because you have a huge set of engineering talent that's always graduating continuously. And with the AI era, I feel the world is going to change. It's going to be amazing. I'm very positive about the world,
Good.
actually.
We're coming to sort of the end, and I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. I mean, it is
Mhm,
very interesting to think about. I don't know. So again, Bangalore is where our parents are from, and it's where I've spent a lot of
mhm,
my life. But it is also again a place that's been changing so much. And
mhm,
even I've felt this change of. I was talking to one of our other cousins about this. We were at our farmhouse, and we were
mhm,
talking
mhm.
about how the ideals of what success looks like has really been changing for a lot of people, right? Like I think when we were younger, it was like you have to be a doctor or an engineer, and if you're not one of those two things, that there's a lot of pressure to do something else financially successful. And I'm just curious for you right now, as Bangalore is changing so much, how has your idea of what success means changed? And what is your idea of success now?
I think right now nobody's focusing on doctor or engineer. Everything
Yeah.
is on real estate. That's what I'm observing. The entire focus is on real estate. So everybody's a real estate person that you see or meet who's ambitious to be about. But for me, success at this point is can I lead a balanced life? Can I have, I usually say five things: body, mind, soul, experience, and others' experience. It's like, yeah, body is your physical health, mind is how is your mental state, and a soul is like how you generally feel in your soul, and experiences, what are the experiences you're having in life, and then others' experiences, what did you contribute for other person's happiness? Like did you create something for them to be happy? So I think a balance of all these five is what I call it as success these days. If I only focus on the others experience and I lose out the experiences of life, like eating a dosa or eating my favorite dish, or you know taking care of my body or something like that, it's not worth living a life for, usually. So we need things in order, we need things in balance. So for me, definition has been, if I can live in balance, that's good enough
Amazing.
for me.
Great. All right. So coming to my last question, Viga, you're obviously a growing company, and you mentioned a little bit about the products and services you're building. Are you looking to raise investment? Or are you continuing to stay bootstrapped?
We are continuing to stay bootstrapped, but we are also starting, probably in next quarter, we are also going to start pitching to VCs as a way to see what is the pulse in the market for this industry. How are the VCs looking at this industry? And I think more than a VC, we are looking for a strategic partner, is what I would also say. Because a strategic partner will be a great addition to join us with accomplishing this mission. It's like, tagging
Yeah,
along
yeah.
another ship with us, and making sure, hey, a bigger ship is always helpful to tag along and go to the right destination. If everyone believes in the right true purpose of making that ship reach the destination,
Okay.
that's all. Uh,
Perfect. So if somebody was looking to work with Viga as a strategic partner, or was potentially curious about
Yes.
talking to you about what sort of developments are possible in Bangalore, they can contact you? Okay, cool.
That's right.
Then I'll add that as well.
They
So
can
if
contact
anyone's
me.
interested in speaking to Vivek, I will put all of his information in the show notes so that you guys can reach out to him. He's very fun to talk to, even if it's not on those topics, I will say. He is my favorite person to get life advice from, even though he's like 2 months older than me. So I've been calling him guru for the last year and a half. And yeah, Vivek, is there anything else you want to share or anything else you'd want to have as, final words before we end the show?
I mean, nothing much. I think I have covered whatever I was thinking about Bangalore and entrepreneurship, and it's going to be an exciting time this year. I'm already excited from today morning when Claude 3.7 launched. I want to remember this day because I started trying it out and I was so excited. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited for the journey that's going to come ahead in this life. So I'm gearing
Amazing.
up for it. And I wish everyone in your podcast listening as well, to be cheerful about the AI world that's going to come up. That's
That's something we don't get to hear often. So I'm hopeful that you help people out with that today. Vivek, thank you so much. And
yes.
I'm sure we're going to chat about many of these topics again soon. And yeah, look forward to seeing all the amazing things you continue to do.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning into the Founders Atlas. I hope you enjoyed the ride. To learn more about what Vivek is building at VIGA Entertainment Technology, check our show notes for how you can get in touch with him. And if you could like, subscribe, follow, give us a rating on whatever platform you are enjoying this podcast on, it would mean so much more than you could ever know. Thank you again for tuning in, and see you next time.